G'day guys, Chronicles of Solid here and welcome back to another motorcycle review. Today I've got the Triumph Tiger 800. We've got the XRT model. So this is the more road focused of the Triumph's 800s. The other model has spoked rims. If you look at this one down, you can see, if we walk around to the front, down here we've got a 19-inch cast wheel, and then we've got a 17-inch cast wheel on the back, so obviously it's going to be a little more road focused. Other differences compared to the XC is the ground clearance. Obviously you can see here it's not quite as much ground clearance, and a few other little small differences, like the XC top model comes with crash guards and stuff, but it's really splitting hairs. If I was to compare this bike to anything, it's very similar to my F700 GS. This is the fully kitted out model. The base model is the XR. The T means top of the range. So you've got fog lights, crash guards, nice big screen. What else have we got attached here? We got rear racks that come standard, which is very nice. We've even got heated seats, can you believe? It's amazing how far motorcycle tech's coming. We've got cruise control up here. You got 3 rider maps. You have road, you have off-road, and then you have manual settings, so you can set it to how you like, which is pretty nice. Plenty of bells and whistles on this, so let's get out on the road and see how she goes. Alright, so we're on board. But again, this is the Triumph Tiger 800 XRT model. So we'll take it for a bit of a ride and see how she handles. I'm going to compare this a lot to my F700 GS, which I've owned for a few years now, basically because they occupy the same market space. They're really pitted against each other, so I thought it'd be a really good opportunity to see what's what. Now obviously the most unique thing about this Triumph, and a lot of Triumphs, not all of them but a lot, is the 3-cylinder engine, which is very nice and smooth. This isn't the first triple I've ridden, but it's definitely the smoothest triple I've been on. I've ridden the MV Agusta 675 F3 and that was a lot more choppy at low revs. This one's buttery smooth from the get-go. It's very nice. It's also, because of that 3-cylinder, it's a lot wider. If you look here, the tank's a lot bigger, and sitting on it, it's not as thin sitting on it, so you don't quite get that quite as much skinny off-roady feel, but it's still a very comfortable and easily controlled bike. Power delivery is just butter smooth too, as you should expect from any triple. It does feel a bit heavier than my F700, and because of that triple motor, it's also a lot peppier. And so it should do. My F700 makes about 75, maybe 77 horsepower on a warm day with a tailwind. Whereas this Triumph makes about 90 horsepower, so that's enough to notice. And cruising here along on the highway, wind protection's pretty good. The screen does kind of hit me at the top of the helmet, but I find that of a lot of adventure bikes. It just seems to be my height. I'm 180 centimeters tall, and it just seems to be a fact that most adventure bikes I hop on, the top of my helmet seems to catch the wind. So as I was saying before, it's got all the bells and whistles. This is the top of the range model. Heated grips, heated seats, which is very nice. in Australia we don't get too cold on in Western Australia, so I probably wouldn't use that feature much. For you guys in America or England or in Europe, I can see this being quite an advantage, having heated seats in your cold winters. You do feel the weight of this bike. It does feel like a 200 kilo plus bike. I was expecting it to feel a little more nimble than it does. My F700 definitely feels easier to turn in and change direction, but at the same time, for what you sacrifice in maneuverability, you gain in stability. This feels like a very stable bike, and sitting on it instantly, you know, you could chew up some miles. The other thing to talk about is the seat. Some companies do seats very well, some companies do appalling seats, and every now and then you get a good seat. I think this one's somewhere in the middle. Now I will warn you, I'm very skinny and I have a very bony butt, so if anyone's going to be able to tell a crap seat fairly early on, good work knobhead. If anyone's going to be able to tell a bad seat, it's my butt. And this one's not too bad. I'd probably want a comfort seat for really long journeys, but this thing's more than adequate for day rides and etc. So you got plenty of info up here. You've got how hot the bike is, you got your fuel here, time, trip meters, various trip meters. Plenty to see out of the mirrors. They're in a good position, they don't catch my shoulders too much. It's very easy to get along with. I'm surprised how easy this is to ride. You know, normally I have a little bit of trepidation hopping on a dealer bike and just going for a spin, because sometimes, you know, there's little quirks and things you have to get used to. But this bike, the clutch engagement is very light and very smooth. The contact point is very intuitive. The brakes work well. Actually, the brakes I'll test in a bit and see how they compare to the Brembos on the BMW. As usual, I'm in a random suburb and have no idea where I'm going, so let's just see where the road takes us. I do like that the Triumph Tiger XRT has given you the big adventure screen. They haven't stinged you like the F700 GS. Not that it's a screen that's annoying, but they give you a bit of a shorter one, so for you guys that may have wanted wind coverage, they kinda shorted you out. It's got not a bad sound for stock, as most triples do. They all sound fairly good. They've got that whirring sound. I think this is a no-through road, so it'll give us a good opportunity to hop off and have a quick look at it again. So let's have another look at her. It's very nice. What I don't like about the bike is it happens with most road biased adventure bikes like the F700 GS, also doesn't get the same quality suspension that the F800 does, and they've done the same thing here with the Tiger. The XC gets the new WP suspension, and this one, while the suspension isn't bad, it's definitely not as good as it could be. Now they say, oh, that's because of the lower ride height, but there's really no excuse for giving good suspension with a lower ride height. I mean, I guess it saves cost because this is a little cheaper, but it'd be nice to see the top model having the same class leading suspension. You can see here, this little mount here is actually for navigation devices. It's a nice little touch. It's very hard to stall this thing too. Compared to my F700 GS, which is a pain in the ass in first because of the clutch contact point. You really got to let the clutch almost all the way out. Whereas this thing is very hard to stall. As most triples with the power coming in, nothing too exciting happens until you hit about the $5,000 mark is where the power really starts coming in. It's definitely not lacking anything. We just found neutral there. Yeah, it's not lacking down low, but the real big hit comes at about 5.5 mark. Just here is where the enemy lives, BMW Motorrad. I wonder if they'll shoot at me. Yeah, this is a great road bike. It's very stable, very easy to get along with. Brakes are good, about the same as the F700 GS. They're no better, no worse. The back brake's a little more responsive actually, but the front maybe not quite as good. But it might be that this thing possibly weighs a little bit more. For any of the detailed specifications, I know I haven't gone into weight and horsepower and torque too much. That's mainly because I was prepared to ride another bike today, but they didn't have it. So I will chuck up in the camera here somewhere all the specs and inner details for you guys that really want to know the nitty-gritty. It does feel a little lower than the F700, even though when you put your feet on the ground it's about the same. It's a very easy bike to get your feet on the ground. I'm flat-footed with a bend in my knee and I'm 180 centimeters tall, so you sub 6 foot ladies and guys who are a little height challenged, this would probably be one of the easier adventure bikes to get your feet down on. But the seat is a little bit wider, so keep that in mind. That it always steals some ability to get to the ground. The wider the seat, the harder it is to get your foot on the ground. The bars are at a pretty good height. It feels like it's a little more of a stretch to grab the bars. They're a little lower than even the F700 and certainly lower than the XE or the F800. I'd probably want to put them up a little bit for maximum comfort, but I've got shoulder problems, so you know, your mileage may vary on that one. If I was in heavy traffic and there's a lot of stop start and clutch work, I think I would prefer this over my F700. It may even be a little not quite as wide. The bars seem like a little bit shorter because my hand guards down here tend to come out a little further. It would have been nice to see their hand guards actually have metal bracing in there. These are just plastic. A lot of manufacturers are doing it that way these days, kind of cutting costs. The Africa Twin has done it as well. You know, it can't really add that much more to the cost of the bike to chuck on some decent crash protection, especially when you're on adventure bikes. They're going to get dropped because a lot of people are going to take these off-road, and this one's certainly capable of taking dirt roads or anywhere my F700 GS would go. The ground clearance is really your only worry. Anyway guys, we're back at JCS Motorcycles, so thanks for letting me ride their bike. And this has been the Tiger 800 XRT model. So thanks again guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Chronicles of Solid out.